be gone. I hit the button. We should be rolling in a second, yeah. It's live now?
Yeah.
Okay, you guys can go ahead and share it to your platforms.
Okay.
I hit the button.
Did you tag people or no?
Yeah, I did. Everybody's tagged in it. Yeah, everybody's tagged in it.
So it should be at the timeline. Just go and click add to timeline.
Yeah, if you go on your timeline, you guys should be able to click add and then share right to your pages.
Oh, you mean
Okay,
the notifications? Notifications, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah, the notifications. Yeah.
I added it.
Okay.
Okay. Cool.
Everybody should be good. AD, you still with us?
Yeah, I'm still with you. I'm trying to, the whole thing, this is interesting.
Is it giving you the blues? You might have to just hit share because I did.
It's time to go to your page and just go to your page and share.
Yeah, you might have to just hit share, AD.
All right, let me just go. Yeah, let me just go to your page.
Yeah, and just hit share so your viewers can tag in with you. All right, well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of The Hot Seat. Hey, everybody.
Hey.
What's going on? So we got a new panelist in the house tonight that we're going to be baptizing on this evening. To Mitchell.
Oh, Lord.
Welcome to this week's episode, lady. We are super excited to have you with us.
Thank you so much.
Being able to be with us tonight. We have
Absolutely
AD in the building. When he comes back, he'll be back in just a second, you guys. AD is with us this evening. And we also have Carl Soretti. He's just popping in with us now. Carl's with us this evening. And we also have my other new friend, Dee, in the building with us. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening. Hey, Carl. Welcome.
Hello.
And of course, we got the other host with the most that turned 75 years old this week. Mr. Charles Dixon is in the
Lord. Everybody.
Charles has drank from the fountain.
75.
Look at that face. So, you guys, we always start off with a quick word of prayer, and then we're going to get started on our topic of discussion for tonight. Okay? Is that good? Everybody good with that?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, ma'am.
Father, we clearly thank you so much for this opportunity to share again with your people. We appreciate you, God, preserving us for this set time that you have allowed us to be here, to be present, and to be able to contribute to people's lives in a very real and tangible way. We love you, we honor you, and we appreciate you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right, so we're going to get started. What we're going to do is we're going to read this narrative off first so we can make sure that everybody's on the same page as far as our followers tonight, and then we're going to get crunk. And Pastor Hendrickson said, "Happy birthday, Charles."
Oh, thank you.
And Victoria says, "Hello to everybody." Hey, Victoria. Victoria is one of our other panelists. She's in the chat with us tonight. So,
Pastor J up there? Is that Pastor J out there?
Pastor Jason out there in the building. What's up, Pastor?
I said, hey.
All righty. So let me read the narrative and we're going to get started. Being intentional about a relationship is just as important as your natural, spiritual, mental, emotional, financial, and social health. Who you choose can make or break you, like all of the above mentioned. Yet oftentimes we're not deliberate. We don't know what we want, or we really don't know who we want to be connected to or why we want to be connected to them. This is where the love list comes in. The same as we write down goals, dreams, and aspirations, this list is equally as important. Yet there's a twist to this. What do you actually have on your list? Is it a fantasy or does it coincide with your current reality? Unlike hopes and dreams, this list has to reflect where you are and who you are as a being overall. Let's explore this topic together and talk about love and the relationship list. Is what I desire in a mate even realistic? That's the question of the hour, you guys. I think this topic came really interesting because I was actually talking to a guy and we were talking about a grocery list because we were talking about being health conscious and being really aware of what we consume. AD, I know you can relate to this because I know you're a stickler for what you put into your body temple. So I know you can really, really relate to this. And I know some
Yeah.
Mitchell's get really into health. And I don't know about you guys as far as how meticulous you are, but we were talking about how meticulous you have to be if you're going to be deliberate when you go to the grocery store. You never go when you're hungry. You know, we all know that rule of engagement, but you also should go with an intent in mind as to what you want to put into your body temple, because it's just a whole lot of options in the grocery store. So that's when we started talking about the relationship list. And so I asked the guy, I said, is this a girl thing? He was like, no, but I don't think guys like to admit that they got a list. So I thought about the topic about love and the relationship list, and that's where this actual show got birthed from. I thought that was interesting. I wanted to get the take from both the men and the women about this list. You know, is it really realistic? Is it true? Is it just false hope? You know, what really goes on with the list? Why do we even write a list? So I'm going to start off with the first question that we had in mind about this whole list idea. Why do we even consider having a list of the type of person we want to be in a relationship with? So, Mitchell, we'll start with you.
I think that that's an awesome question. I think the very first thing is why we have a list is because our experiences have shaped our perception. So we basically start off what we don't want helps build the list of what we do want.
Absolutely.
So a lot of times I think that people are basing it off of their past experiences because really, I mean, you don't get a list until like after a couple of relationships, you know what I mean, until you're actually like really serious about getting married. And I think that the reason why the list is even, you know, it's born out of experiences. It's born out of, hey, I'm not going here anymore. I'm not going to be broke with somebody anymore. They have to be financially set. Or I'm never going to go with anybody who has a history of, you know, being unfaithful or what have you, or whatever your list is. And I think that that's why the list is originally made. It's just due to, you know, past experiences and what you will and will not put up with.
That's an excellent take on it. Excellent take on it. AD, roll with us on it.
Well, I mean, lists are always going to be important.
Correct.
Lists guide, they direct, and then when you look at it from a universal standpoint, when we're looking to attract something or somebody, in you know, based on our topic, when we're looking to attract someone special into our lives, the clearer we are about our objectives or what it is that we want, and we put that out there, we write it down, we speak it. When we write it down, that's the first time it's birthed into, you know, this third dimensional reality. And then and then after that, when we put energy behind it, we start doing the things to attract somebody. When we start dating, when we start, you know, opening ourselves up, then and only then, because we are clear. And that's what the list does. The list makes us absolutely crystal clear about what it is that we intend on experiencing, who we intend on attracting into our space. And when we sell out to that list wholeheartedly, then that person will appear.
Mm-hmm. D, talk to us about this list.
List. To me, the list is about standards. We have standards for everything. We have standards for the kind of houses we want to live in, the car we drive, our career. We have standards for everything. We have standards about how we run our household. And so to me, the list is about standards. It's about what you will choose to put up with, and what you won't choose to put up with, or what you'll deny in your space and in your time. That's what the list is to me. The list is about standards to me.
That's good stuff. Carl, talk to us about this list.
I agree. Just like she said, standards, but I believe the list, it's like the word says, write the vision, make it clear. And I really feel like, you know, when we put a list together, we're visualizing what we want, or it's even a mission statement, you know, where we want to go with this. So, you know, again, what I will deal with, what I won't deal with. Said it before, you know, our past experiences shape shape that list. It shapes that vision. So when we write it out, we're visualizing what this person should look like, what this person should sound like, what this person should smell like. We're writing down this list of things that we're expecting this person to be, and it makes it easier to again attract that type of person back to us.
Charles, what you think about this list, Charles?
I probably have a different approach. I probably feel different. So my thoughts on it, I hear a lot of echoes of a lot of some of the things that everybody says that are definitely relevant. My thought process is I've never been the person who I can honestly say I've had a list per se. My thought has always been I strive to become that person I want to attract. And I feel like when you have a list, when you involve a list, you're saying, okay, you're putting a bar out there, and unfortunately, most of us don't even meet our list bar. We always say we want somebody that far exceeds us, and this person has to be darn near perfect, but we are messed up, broken, financial issues and other things ourselves, but you better not be that. You understand what I'm saying? And so I think that once AD was talking about the energy, so I think if we move in a certain way, certain people will be attracted to the way you move. And to me, if you want to add a list portion in there, once you encounter that person, they may have the same energy. But when you talk to them, there may be some parts may be like, yeah, they're cool, we vibe, but this person has this kind of very checkered past that I don't think is going to work for me. It might have good energy, but so basically I look at it as it comes to, you get to like a crossroads when you meet the person and you say, do we click or we don't? I mean, the list part, again, to me, I just, I kind of go off of energy differently. That's all.
I like to talk about
I think what you're saying, Charles, is basically you have a list, but it's internal and not written down.
Correct. That's it. That's it.
It's still a list, but you haven't written it down, is what I hear you saying, basically. Correct. I think the power in the list is for you to see yourself within the equation, is my thought. When you I remember writing a list years ago, and I remember this older lady saying to me, she said, well, I heard you said that we were in this women's conference thing, and she said, let me talk to you. And so I was like, yes, ma'am. She said, well, I heard we were talking about, do we ever want to be married, blah, 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 blah. So I said, I wrote a list. She said, do you mind if I look at what you wrote? And I was like, I don't know if I really want you to look at it. She said, well, why wouldn't you? Everybody else is going to look at the person when the person manifests. So let me see what you have in writing. And so when I showed her my list, she stood there and she said, this is not going to get you the person that you want. This is going to get you the appearance of the person that you want. Because most of the stuff that I had on there was physical. It wasn't attributes like character, as far as what kind of person I want the person to be. It was all superficial stuff, like I want them to be this height, I want them to have a beard, I want them to be like mocha colored skin, I want them to work at this, have this kind of career path, I want them to have his ... fizz, I want them to have a degree and ... But there was nothing encompassed in the list that I had that talked about who the person was internally. And so she literally sat down with me and she showed me how to look at myself and create a list based on who I was. But the challenge part of that was she didn't help me to write a list based on where I was headed. So in that moment, I attracted the person, but at that time, as who I was in that moment. But as I evolved, that person left, if you want to say, out of my space, because they and I were no longer aligned in the same vein as far as the harmony, the energy, like what Charles was saying about the energy and what AD was saying earlier. We were no longer aligned, so that relationship ended up being dissolved. But I think had I had more information based on not only where I was, but where I was headed, that it would have been a little bit more clearer subconsciously for it to come into consciousness. That makes sense?
I think that's what happens too, is that, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, AD, and then tell Mitchell piggyback after him. Go ahead, AD.
Okay.
I think, I love your example. I love the example that you give, Kofi, because you're saying that you had the list and you put it out there. You put what you wanted to experience out there, and you got just that.
Exactly.
It shows that the power of creating the clear intention does work,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to make sure that what you ask for is what is what's best for you. We don't always have a crystal ball to determine how we're going to evolve and how we're going to grow. But
Mm-hmm.
I think I think the best thing that we can do is first to be honest with ourselves about, like Charles said, who we are.
Right.
Because who
Right.
we are is definitely going to determine, to a great degree, who we attract. So
Absolutely.
first of all, so who we are, and then what it is that we want is going to be in that moment. Because
Yeah.
we don't live in the future and we don't live in the past. We only live in the now, and that's the only
Right.
place that we can plan our intentions.
Mm.
So I think it's beautiful that you attracted, because the list. So it just shows that the list does work.
Mm.
You said something real powerful, and I'm going to let Mitchell chime in because I know she wanted to say something. But you said something real powerful. I had a conversation with someone today, and he said something to me. He said, "Stay present." And we were having this dialogue about something that had transpired, and he was saying, "Stay present, even if
That's
even in the face of adversity, stay present." And so
Mm.
what you just said, it just literally coincides with what that conversation that that we had earlier when he was talking about stay present. Because you
that's a
literally,
that's a
you
big
can't
piece,
exist in you can't exist in any realm but the now.
right? And unfortunately, that's where many people fail,
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
because what happens in relationships, oftentimes, and I forget who said it. This said it early on.
I think
It,
it
it
was to
was it's
Mitchell.
the I think it was to Mitchell, right?
Mm-hmm.
That our experiences, our past
Right,
failures, and all that stuff,
right,
it shapes our list. And see, I think that is a
Right.
problem. Are you right? Yes, the list does. Your past experiences do shape the list, but I think that's a problem, because what that does
mm,
is we pull those experiences from the past and we bring them into our present moment experience, writing our list, and therefore we interject that and project it out into the future. So
mm.
that's
Mm.
why, that is the reason I believe that is one of the main reasons why people begin to have these cyclical situations, and they attract the same people over and over
Different
and over
bodies.
again.
Yep, yep.
Hey, Coffee,
One,
I wanted to talk about that.
Okay, hold on one second, D. Let's let Tom Mitchell hit it, and then I'm gonna have you come in right behind her, and then Carl after you. Go ahead, Tom Mitchell, and then D's gonna tap in after you.
That's what I was actually about to say, and I think what happens is that we build this list off of fantasy and not
Right,
like somebody that we can actually do
right.
life with,
Tangible, right.
Yeah.
because we are so susceptible if we're not willing to be vulnerable to change, because we're constantly evolving and changing, then that list is not going to work, because what I needed now at 38 is not what I needed when I was 30.
Right.
Mm.
So it's just like being able to be ebb and flow. And I think when people make these lists, they're so rigid
Mm-hmm.
that it's
yes,
like what Charles said, they're so
Right.
rigid that you have boxed out possibly some very good people
People. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
because of like he said, with the past experiences. And you are now, as far as past experiences, I do exclude abuse and infidelity.
Yeah.
That's just something that people, if that is your new standard, I completely understand. But like you said, pulling that stuff in from your past experiences could be subconsciously attracting or not attracting the people that you really want, because now the list is a shield. Instead of you dealing with the fear of being hurt again or your past experiences, now your list is just a shield to protect you or keep you single.
And
So
Mm-hmm.
it's
that's
just
funny
kind of
because
like,
Charles talked about that on his page earlier today. Charles was
it's
mentioning
true.
something
preach.
similar to that earlier today. That's interesting.
It's
D,
true.
go ahead
It,
and
it's a
chime into
it's a
this, D.
shield.
Yeah, for sure. D,
I
chime in it.
guess I guess my thought process is the list, the tangible list
Uh-huh.
versus the intangible list. For instance, my internal list, I mean, I haven't ever written anything down, but I have an internal list of things qualities that I require in a person, in a mate, in a date. But I also have a type. Now, the list of qualities the internal qualities that I require in a person, sometimes that's found in the type of person that I like visibly or not. And what I mean by that is I have a type. I like tall. I like brown skin. I like slender. I like a certain voice, a certain timbre in the voice of a man. But sometimes date against type. But my personal list would be things like honesty, hard worker, doesn't cheat, is patient, is kind, is respectful to people, just people in general. So those things, even with my past experiences, my present experiences, and my future experiences, some of those things on my list will never change. They'll never change. Versus the things on my list that are a type, body type, or a body build, that kind of thing. So I don't know if we're lumping all of that together or not. I'm not sure.
Well, the list,
So
the
you're
list is
saying that
comprised of anything that you want to have with that person, be it, the physical, the natural, whatever you want to have with that person, it's all encompassed in that list. It's kind of like the concept of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. But Tom Mitchell was going to say something, then we're going to have Carl chime in, and then I see AD's wheel spinning over there after that. Go ahead, Tom Mitchell.
What I was going to ask, Dee, is it right? Dee, the
Yeah,
young lady
that's
that was
it.
just talking?
D.
Okay. What I was going to say is that, and I think that that's such a good way to kind of separate the lifetime and the core values and the things that, now, are you flexible on your type? Because he could have everything on the core value list, but he might be short, light skinned,
And a little
with some
bald, just a
other
little
things
nail
that may not
Paul
be your
that,
type.
a
A little
bald.
balding. Are you flexible on that? Because you know what, we throw people out over stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
I am flexible. I'm flexible on. I do have a type, but I am flexible on that type. And I would hope that any man that would want to date me, because I have a certain physique that I may or may not be his type, but I would hope that he would look more at the internals. Now, I know men are visual, women are visual too, but I would hope that the internal would be more important than just the external. That's what I would hope, and that's how I try to treat men that I would date as well. I do have a type, but I've dated against type many times, many times.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Carl, go ahead, talk to us, Carl.
A couple of things. Listening, we talk about these lists. How many people make a list? We really haven't dealt with the fantasy side of it, or did exceed something that we're not even willing to be ourselves. You have people that will write a list and they want all these things, and I'm not going to not knock on women, but they want a man that's got a job and has his own house and has a car and making this, but then yet they're still living at home or they're not working. And it may go the other direction. It may be a man that wants a woman is doing this and he's living with in mama's basement, but we have, some people have this list that you can't even, that list exceeds even you. Your list is above your own standards. I think a lot of people do that. And then that's how they shun away and lose out on opportunity because they have exceeded, they've actually moved out their own realm. They dated up where they should have been dating as an 8, they're trying to date 10s. On their
Stay
list.
in your lane, baby. Stay in your lane. Stay in your lane.
Yes, sir.
Don't drive your car. Don't drive your car all in my lane. That's an accident.
Right. You don't even have your blinker
so,
on.
We don't even want. We don't want no.
And don't even use the blinker.
Yes, you can all in my lane. Driving the wrong kind of car, everything. Wrong kind of driver, everything.
Mm.
But go ahead, AD. Go ahead, AD.
Rent a car.
No, no, I love it. I love it. The brother's absolutely right. You know, we these mismatched relationships and this kind, because you know how we see people and we say, how in the world did they get together?
Yeah.
And then, and then you have that friend, that, that brother said, man, I don't know how I got myself into this. She had a fat round one. She was fine, and real
Yes.
cute, and all of that. And
Mhm.
but dumb as a box of rocks.
My Lord.
And the brother winds up complaining and all that. And I've seen this. I've had folks in my space. I've had friends that, they're single, they're looking to date. Now they might be a little on the plus side and chunky and, might not have everything going together right, but they want a dime.
In the thick
They
ministry.
want, they're in the thick ministry. They're in the thick ministry.
They want a dime piece. Want a dime piece.
But they want a dime piece.
But
I
they
mean,
want a
she got
two-piece
she
too, though.
gotta be,
I'm just saying.
a Pocahontas, got her stuff together, all of that. And I'm like, bruh, like, I mean, are you serious? I mean,
Shaped like a
I
2
said
liter
women like
Coca-Cola
the brother to look good
You know
too.
what?
Mhm.
Somebody shaped like a 2 liter trying to get a Coke bottle. So come
You're
on,
right.
man. Stop playing.
No, I mean, no. So he was
You know that
absolutely
ain't
right,
right.
man.
You know that ain't right. You guys, we got some really solid comments. I definitely don't want to miss out on a chance to actually share these with the panel so we can get some of their questions answered. There's a few that got some questions on here that I want to kind of definitely get before we get too deep into this conversation. There is one that said by Nisha, I think that's her, Nisha Anderson. Is our list too expensive? I think that kind of goes back to what Carl was saying earlier. Like you have a higher price tag than your actual value.
Right.
Oh,
Go ahead, Charles. Elaborate on that higher price tag than your value.
Talking to me?
Angela,
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Whatever. Anyway, I mean, like I said, we have made these lists into just what they are. They are most lists, to be honest. We get lists from the holiday, Christmas wish lists, right? That's what they are. That's what they come from, stuff that we wish that we can have. And so when you're wishing, you tend to go into another realm that's not feasible, nor normal, nor practical. And we want this person to kind of be this magical person to come out of the sky and just come down here exactly for us. And that's kind of how we look at things. And so, a couple of things you all said earlier. I think Dee was talking about types. And what I thought about when I think about types, we have to ask ourselves sometimes, if you think about this, if you say I have a certain type, that means there has been a history, and in that history, that type hasn't worked, right? And so, but we remain committed to that type, but that type hasn't worked for us. So the question is, who has vetted the type, and how has the type really served you to be, what you want? And so it's like a lot of times I used to be caught up into that at one time. I was sort of like, you're a light-skinned guy, so I was married to the opposite. But sometimes it's like, look, sometimes, maybe some of the better relationships were maybe lighter complected women or something else. So, I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean, or particular body type or shape. We get kind of caught up into those things, and all of them change. Someone may start off like a Coke bottle, and like we said, end up like a 2 liter.
My
So
Lord, I'm tonight. My Lord, I'm tonight.
All that stuff is relative.
Lord, from a 6-pack to a 17.
But here's the other part. Here's my other issue I have with lists. In the military, depending on how you look at this whole thing, in the military, there was a reason for Morse code. Morse code was, I have these things and I have these plans, but I'm going to make sure you don't see them. And what we have to understand is when we are voicing our list and plans, there are two entities listening.
Absolutely.
There's the positive, and then there is the negative side. And so while you kind of putting all your hope on this side, guess what? There's a line of decoys coming up. at the same time in the form of your list. So that's why sometimes you have to kind of, keep that list internally. And just when you notice it, when you feel it, then, you either going to line up with what you hear and say or not. But getting caught up in these lists will get you caught up, literally.
It
So,
really will.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's like putting out a job
Yeah.
description, right?
Correct.
You put out this job description, which is your list, and then you get I can put my resume to fit your job description. I can do that.
Absolutely. I totally
But
agree.
you're not I can tailor myself to be this person that you really want to be, but see that's not
Right.
going to last long. And see
Right. You
that's
can't do the
why
job.
I agree with you, Charles, is that you right, because when you get on this job and you lied about this 25 years of IT experience
Right.
and
My
you don't
Lord,
know
my
anything about
Lord.
the
And you got
computer,
Yeah.
2 months.
Correct.
2 months.
You're right.
you're doing now you're in a situation like the other young man said, man, I don't know how I got caught up in this. No, you're not looking for somebody to do life with. You
Right.
are looking for a fantasy, like Charles said. And I mean, so if the list
That's
is
such a good word.
that's
Yeah.
yeah,
That's such a good, to Mitchell, that's such a good word. And if I may, and the reason why I say I believe that's such a good word, that fantasy thing,
Right.
the question
Right.
I think both men and women need to answer or ask themselves is, what is shaping our list? Because many times
correct.
we'll watch these movies because Hollywood,
Man,
they'll tell a
listen.
story. I mean,
Right.
Hollywood
Yeah.
Right.
has these wonderful narratives and these
Even
Right.
the
beautiful stories,
reality shows.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
honey. Honey,
Oh.
yes.
and we already know reality shows aren't reality.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
So
Correct.
and then look at here, watch this. Then we have social media.
Right.
Social media, we feel that we can look into everybody's lives and oh, they look so good together, they so happy, and then you turn around and you look at what you got and you upset and frustrated because now you're looking to change your list.
Right.
Right.
Oh,
Right.
change your list because of something you saw on Facebook. You're looking to
Right.
change your list
Right.
because of something you saw on a movie. Y'all went to the movies with your girlfriends the other night.
Right. Right.
We always, and here's the thing,
Mm.
we always want what we don't have.
Don't have. Yes.
Right.
Correct.
Mm.
Correct.
Lord have mercy. You want some
But
steak
see,
and you got chicken.
that's an issue. You can want something, but like he said, but what do you need?
Right.
Correct.
See, everybody's got wants, but what do you need?
Mhm.
And there's something the young lady was saying before, people talking to each other. You hear a lot of men or women will say, well, what's your type? And so, like she said, the job interview, if I ask a young lady, well, what type of man do you like to date? You're looking for. Oh, I want him to be this, this, and this, and this. And now all of a sudden I try to become that for that person
Correct.
because you put your list out or vice versa. It won't take long. The fog is eventually going to lift and you're going to be exposed.
Yes, sir.
Because you can't,
Right.
you're perpetrating a fraud because you're
Right.
trying to be on somebody's list that you're not
Absolutely.
qualified to be on.
Absolutely.
But,
And
Carl,
I said
here-
that
here-
last
oh,
night
sorry.
about the default settings. I said that last night. I said what happens is when someone tries to become something for you, they eventually go back to their original default settings. If you
Right.
ever look at your phone and you get ready to get rid of your phone, you try
Like
your
it.
best to recall that you got everything out of it that you really wanted, and then you
Right.
hit factory reset as though it never happened in the first place.
That's it.
Right.
Right.
And so
Right.
Yeah.
I
That's a
agree with
good
Carl as
analogy.
far as I agree with Carl in that vein of thinking to where you go back to your original factory reset. You go
Yes.
back to who you like when I used to do theater. I remember one of my theater teachers teaching us the art of getting in character. And it was really deep how she taught us. She was like, you literally have to become the person that character is to be for it to live. And I was like, what? And as time progressed, I was able to master it to become this character. And I remember one time I did a character, and the character was so intense. I literally, when I left, I had to kind of literally back off of everybody to get out of that character vein because it was just that intense. It was a very deep, dark kind of character that I was doing. And I had to get back to me. I was like, whoa, I've been in this character a little too long. But you think about that, and I still defaulted back to who I was. Although I was in that character, I still went back to who I originally was. But Charles, you were getting ready to say something. What were you gonna say, Charles?
Well, first I was going to say, did you successfully get out of the character? But
I
anyway,
did. I
so
did.
so anyway, so let's
That's right. I did on
I
tonight.
thought you still
Yes.
got to stay in
Yes.
character. But anyway,
Yes.
so
On
here's
tonight.
the thing. No, no, here's the thing. We have to ask ourselves when I believe Carla and the other young lady was talking. I thought about this. So somebody said something about I think AD talked about where does that list come from? And
Yeah.
if a lot of times, if we're honest, the list comes from our failures. We build from our
Yes.
failures. And we are saying
Yes.
to ourselves, I need this person to be 10 times better than me, which is, it's logical. I understand it, but it's dysfunctional. It's dysfunctional thinking to try to build anything from failure. Think about it. When
Correct.
somebody is successful, I'm gonna tell you why it's dysfunctional. How many people that you know that are really, really successful that are saying, you don't hear them speak of any kind of list because in their mind, I have the means to answer whatever your list is, so it doesn't matter. Forget your list. We got this. You know what I'm saying? That's the mindset of somebody extremely
It's
successful.
funny you said that. It's funny
Yeah.
you said that. I have a customer that I wrote a $5 million policy for last week.
Right.
And we were sitting there talking about relationships, right? And you know what he said to me? He said, when I met my wife, I didn't care how much money she earned. I cared who she was
Yeah.
as a person. And he said, I married my wife with no expectations of her to be who I was as far as the amount of money, quote unquote, I had. But he was like, I didn't need money. That wasn't what I needed. What I needed was a great woman to share my resources with. He said that was my focus. My focus was never on anything else but her qualities. He was like, all I cared about is who she was. And here it is 42 years later. And they are,
Wow.
I mean, they living in the lap of luxury. And she was like, she said I felt like I wasn't worthy of him because I didn't have what he had. But he literally said her character is what drove him to her, and he didn't care about, nothing about what she had tangibly. He said it was the intangible stuff that got his attention.
Doing
Right.
life with,
Ooh, that's
like
a
I
good
said.
statement. That's
Yeah,
I
I mean,
saw.
good.
this dude is powerful, AD. This man is like 55 years old and hasn't worked in 20 years. He literally came up with this ingenious idea, created this patent thing, and literally got wealthy overnight. And so he
Mm.
was like,
Wow.
I just had an idea and it just manifested. And he was like, he said, I'm free. So he's like, I wasn't looking for nothing but intangibles. There was nothing else that she could bring to the table for me. There was nothing else she could bring.
Can
So,
can can, can I say
go ahead,
something
go
in
ahead.
this moment right there
Go ahead,
though?
go ahead, AJ.
Um, sadly enough, the statement that the wife made is a statement that so many women make
Yep.
because
Saying
they
they're
They
not
look at
do.
worthy. Yep.
themselves.
They
They
Yep.
look at
do.
themselves. I
Yep.
promise you, I can. I'm speaking from my personal dating experience.
Mm-hmm.
Is that I've met so many. I won't say so many, but I've met a number of women that will ask the question, "Well, what you see in me?" Or
Right.
or
Right.
the
Why me?
you've done this, you do that, da 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 da
Right.
da, and literally to the point where there were chicks that I might have been interested in, but they would not date me because they did not feel that they could hold up in
A
my word.
candle.
They
Yeah.
didn't feel like
Yeah.
they
Adequate,
were worth
not
enough
inadequate. Yeah.
to be.
Well,
So, I think, so going back to that key question of what shapes your list, I think it all boils down to how we see ourselves,
yeah,
That's right.
period,
correct.
That's right.
first
Well,
and foremost. And Charles had hinted around this with the whole, how do you see yourself? Because when you start asking for things,
yeah,
really what dictates that it really is you. You have your
right,
parents that have imprinted on you. You have
right,
social things, life that's imprinted on you. But
right.
at the end of the day, you really have to start valuing yourself. You really
Yourself.
have to
Right.
start loving yourself. And
Right.
that list that you're looking for, let that list rise out of your needs because the only way you can say these are the things that I need is to really look at yourself internally and say, I need these things to help me. And here's the other part too. It's not about finding your other half because
That's
to
right. No
have
such
someone
thing.
to hold,
No,
to
Yeah.
no
have
such thing.
you have too many of us are looking for things that are on our list. They're looking for things that will complete them. No,
Right.
Correct.
you have a whole person.
That's
Again, so
right.
it's
Right.
always going to be about you. It's always going to be about you. So you can't shape a list out of your
Right.
pain, your past, your
And
fears, your
failures.
doubts.
Yeah. All kinds of stuff.
Right.
The list has to come out of your spirit, your heart, and it will
Yes.
shape the thing that you really, really need and who you need in your space to get to that next place in your life.
But
That's good
AD,
stuff.
but
Charles
AD,
said that
as
last
I
night. Charles said last night on his show, he was talking about you're complete, and what comes in is what complements that completion.
Absolutely.
It's an asset.
That's all
It's
anybody
not a
can do.
deficit. It's an
That's
asset.
it. That's the
Yeah.
only nobody can complete
Yeah.
anything. Only thing they can do is
Correct.
complement, and that's where the compatibility and the complementing comes into place inside the scope of a healthy relationship. Is that's the reason why that lady attracted that man, is because she complimented who he was. She
yeah.
was a compliment to him.
But
Go
you know
ahead,
the other
Tony.
Can
here's
I
the other
say that
danger.
on the
Oh, I'm
oh,
sorry.
go
Go
ahead,
ahead.
go
No, go
ahead.
ahead. No, go ahead, Tony. You
No,
can
no,
say
no.
it. Go ahead.
Oh no, what I was about to say on the flip side of that, where we're talking about being a whole person, and a lot of times we are whole people, or have been whole people going into relationships, but a lot of times you are sent the person to help you with your areas where you do need help, where whether it's
Sure.
patience, whether it's learning how to talk to people correctly, whether it's learning
Mm-hmm.
how to,
Mm-hmm.
be kinder, or learning
Right.
how to really have grace towards certain things. So marriage, and I found, just me personally, has brought so many different things out of me that have leveled me up in areas where I was like, I ain't putting up with this, blah, 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 blah. But now I'm a lot more gracious because of
Mm-hmm.
my husband, or
Right.
because of just being selfless in a marriage. So you can still be that whole person, but at the same time, that person comes to edify you in your areas where you're still weak.
Right. Well,
Right.
you're whole with deficits. We all are. We're whole, but we do
Right.
Correct.
have deficits, and that's where
Right.
the complimenting comes in at, to where the person helps you to become a better version of who you are,
Better.
basically.
Exactly.
Can
Go
I
ahead,
give you
Exactly.
Charles.
can I give you an analogy of that though?
Yeah.
So what you're saying is absolutely perfect and it's beautiful. If you look at it, like, we're already, like, if I got an apple seed, that apple seed, inside of that apple seed has the potentiality to be an apple tree, and that apple tree can have more apples. That apple seed could never ever become an orange tree. It never could.
Correct.
But what happens is you're
Right.
that whole person. And going
Mm-hmm.
back to what Mitchell said, if you get in the right relationship,
Mm-hmm.
it can
Mm-hmm.
help nurture and grow that seed and mature that seed into
Right.
a place where
Ah,
now
that's
that
good.
seed
That's good.
becomes a tree
That's
and can
good.
bear all kinds of fruit. But see,
Right.
if you plant that seed
Absolutely.
in the wrong ground and you have no
Well,
fertilizer,
man,
you have
listen.
no sunlight, nothing can
Good.
come
Right.
of it. So
Right.
so it really does make a big difference whose hands you are in,
Watering
especially as
your seed.
Right.
let's call a
Absolutely.
spade a spade.
That's good
So
stuff.
let's look at the Sierra effect. I know that's a thing they got going on now.
Right.
This Sierra thing where you look at how she looked when she was with other men in her life. I guess she was with 50 Cent, then she was with Future, and now she's with the football guy. And like when you look at the progression is growth. She now,
Yeah.
she now
Yeah.
owns her own record label. She
Right.
now controls her destiny at another. She even looks different. She don't even look like the
Right.
same person.
Mhm.
Right.
So
Mm-mm.
so that list, that's why you got that list is so key, that when you do develop that list, be compassionate with yourself.
Right.
Don't be so hard on yourself, ladies. Please don't be so hard on yourself. You
Right.
do deserve greatness and love and respect and honor and all
Absolutely.
of that great stuff. And don't count yourself out, because too many sisters, they look in the mirror and say, I ain't got it all together, so I'm gonna shoot for this, shoot my shot right here. I know these are
Right.
some things that I want or need up here, but I'm gonna just let Rufus, that's sleeping on the sofa at his
My
mama
Lord. My
house, come
Lord.
and be on my house
Rufus.
because I don't want to be by
Not
myself.
Rufus.
Ooh, not Rufus. Not Rufus.
Rufus.
Lord have mercy. Lord, not Rufus.
But
Charles.
that's
Charles.
that's
Not Rufus.
Lord, go ahead, AD. And Charles, come in after AD. But AD, let's stop at the Rufus Ministries on tonight. AD. Lord,
No, here's another aspect of the list that I didn't talk about earlier. Was you got to understand that lists can be deceiving, and they can be deceiving because lists can change as your needs change. As we grow in our lives, we grow differently. What you may have thought you needed before you married that woman or that man, later you'll find, does this person really have the capacity to handle this elevation? You know, maybe we didn't see that, but because I got caught up in this list, now I'm stuck in the funnel neck of the bottle. We're here, but I'm growing, and this person is stuck. So was my list correct? Or was I
Mitchell
just...
said that. Mitchell said that. She said it earlier. What she needed initially with the marriage is not what she needs now. And it has nothing to do with who she became. She said that earlier. So, but AD said something key though, Charles. AD said something key. He said develop a list. He didn't say
together.
Write a list. He didn't say write a list and walk away. He said develop a list. It's like in my office right now, I got vision boards all over the place, right? But my vision is not the same anymore. So as my idea of what I desire changes, I change the images that I look at.
Yes.
So when AD said developing, he was spot on, because if you think about something developing, when you put film in for a develop, it's developed in the dark. It's not developed in the light. So once it comes to the light, that's when you see the beauty of the image that you wanted to see manifested, but it has to be developed over time. It's a process.
But here's the other part. Here's the other part of that. While developing in the dark, the developer is doing this, which is representing being nimble and agile. So you have to be agile. You have to be an agile person. Your list has to be agile. You can't just be. It can't be stuck on a wall no more. It has to be. It has to be, tangible, and you can be able to shift it over here. Do this. You can't just be stuck to the same thing.
And you know what, Charles, you said something. Because I know Dee wanted to jump in, but Charles, you said something earlier when Dee was talking about the type, and I was sitting over here trying not to laugh because I remember being so vested in a type that I never saw the person. I just saw this particular physical
assembly line, a body type, whatever.
Right. The physical prowess that I was so attached to is all I was focused on. When I saw that physical prowess, I was like gravitated towards that. And then so once I became more mature internally, where the development in the dark came in, I began to say, you know what, this doesn't have anything to do with this person's qualities. It's just a look. If I want to see that look, I can go hit Google and just click dark-skinned chocolate bearded man. I could just look at all chocolate bearded men all day. But that doesn't mean they possess the qualities that would complement who I am as a person. Dee, go ahead, and then Tom Mitchell wanted to say something. Dee, go ahead.
Just right there on that, I'm going to change it a little bit. What you said, you could go to a catalog and get a brown-skinned, tall, bearded man.
Oh, absolutely, honey. Google it, girl. Google it.
That's one of the reasons that I don't believe in love at first sight, because a person can look a certain way, and you would never know what's on the inside. You never know what's on the inside. They're just your type, and you falling in love with the type, with what they look like, and their external features, and they could have zero of the internal features that somebody said that you really need.
Right.
You really need. And the other point I wanted to make was, I think Tamika said when she was talking about the resume, is that in dating, I've learned, and a lot of other people have learned, that you don't put and I don't really have a list. I don't have a written list. My things are just internal. I know, patience and kindness and being respectful and that kind of thing, and honesty. But you don't want to let them know right up front what your list is, because they will put on that mask. They will.
That's what Charles said. Charles said the decoy. That's a part of the decoy concept. When you, and I said that last week, that women talk too much. Some things don't need to be divulged up front. They need to be secret. It's those
We do.
secret things need to stay secret until the opportunity presents itself. I think in the dating
Absolutely.
equation, we put too much vested interest in somebody who won't be a part of our future at all.
Absolutely.
They won't be in our tomorrow. All they exist is in today, but they will not be a
Right.
part of
Right.
tomorrow at all.
Well,
You'll
that's
you
good.
may not
That's
never
so good.
2 months from now you may be like, you know what, this was a plum diggity fool. This was a true decoy. And then you find yourself you entrapped by the fact that you've divulged all this information and the person subliminally documented everything you said. Said, I'm gonna be all this stuff she want me to be so I can get to where I want to get with her. And then after that, bam, I'm gonna go ahead and take the mask off and be who I really am.
Yes.
Yeah, you can't. I don't think this is a good question. It's a lot of stuff going in the chat on tonight. My Lord, this is a good topic. This has been juicy.
Might have to do a part 2.
Gotta do a round 2 for this one. My Lord, this is deep. But you know what? Gosh, now this is interesting. Somebody just inboxed me and said, based on what Charles said, I just tore up my list.
Tear it up.
Good.
Tear it up. Burn it.
Based on what Charles said, I just tore up my list. She texted me back
Wow.
tonight. I'm tired of the decoys. That's good stuff.
That's
Wow.
good.
But truthfully, when it comes to vision, anyone that is creative, if you know anything about creativity, it is written down. It is not just it's not just in the mind. It has to come out of the mind. It has to be visually seen in order for it to come to fruition. It's like when Walt Disney died. If you know anything about the story of Walt Disney, when he was in his last moments, the nurse, she said, "Is there anything else I can do to make you comfortable?" His words were, "Go get my blueprints and put them in the ceiling." The minute that she put the blueprints in the ceiling, Walt Disney took his last breath.
Wow.
So the vision has to be in writing. I firmly believe that it still has to be in writing, and it not necessarily it doesn't have to necessarily be in word form. You can do it in the form of a vision board. You don't have to say that. It doesn't have to be in word form, because subliminally, the decoys can't dictate what those images mean to you. If you do it in the form of a vision board, any decoy wouldn't have any understanding of what that image means to you directly, because it's what you know in your mind that's on that vision board. So maybe for some people, they don't need to do a list. They need to do a vision board.
Well, here's the real drill of the whole situation. An extended elapse of time will erase everyone's list. So this is what I'm saying. If think about it, somebody can be waiting, and you can be waiting and waiting on this list. After a while, that list shortens and shortens. Because after a while, you say, "Look, I want to live, enjoy some of this list before I die. So I'm gonna have to make some adjustments on this list." And so we can't get caught up into these lists. Just become who you desire. Just work towards becoming who you desire, and I promise you, the people that's in your walk will come your way if you work towards being who you desire, not building a fictional character that you want to hold accountable for your mistakes. You understand what I'm saying?
So basically what you're saying is you can still build a list, but let the list be a reflection of who you want to become.
Correct.
Yeah, but I still think lists puts us in the judgment seat, and it holds us to look at people and be like, like we think we this, that, and the other. It puts us in the wrong position.
No. What I'm saying is,
I think you lost me on that one, Charles, because I think you lost me on that one, Charles. And the only reason why I say that is because I have daughters. And I need my daughters to have a list.
Right.
Come on, preach.
Guess what, AD? That list comes from your example you show your daughters and what you instill in them. Because you can tell people anything, and if they get the right dude in their ear, they're gonna ignore it anyway. But if they see it in you, they'll be like, I've seen women. Some of the most stern women I've seen are the one who have seen the example in their father and say, Willie so-and-so ain't play that. So they stick with them. But if you just kind of just tell them and, this, that, and the other, but when you really instill these things to women by your lifestyle, women love fathers many, many years, even after their father passed away. if he lived that life in front of them. That's what I'm just saying. Yeah, but you're
And,
right.
and you know
And,
what?
and,
So
and I agree with that.
AD is a real live vision board then.
Yeah, that's it.
AD is a
And
real live
all
vision
he
board.
needs to do is
But you know
be
what?
him.
That would be a luxury thing because
Yeah,
most many of our women don't have an AD as a father. Let's
absolutely,
just be
Right,
honest
right,
and just
right.
put it
absolutely,
out there. So
absolutely.
they're gonna have to develop this man from somewhere. They
Yes,
didn't have a dad in the house. They didn't have that strong uncle. Maybe they had some cousins or something like that, and hopefully they were positive influences.
right.
But at the end of the day, I think women too often they settle on their list, and they
Mm,
don't they're stand like you use the word that list diminishes and disappears, and
yeah,
and to a sad degree you are right
yeah,
because they don't believe and have enough faith in their list, and they
yes.
may not
To
be
hold
strong
out,
enough themselves
right? To hold
to
out,
attract that thing into their space. If you
right,
want a 10, listen, if you want a 10, you be a 10. I'm with you on that part, Charles.
right.
But I think I am big on lists. As a success coach, I am big on
Yeah,
lists. I am
okay.
big on setting goals and setting standards for yourself. I'm big on writing it down because that's the first time it actually manifests itself in the physical on this plane.
Absolutely.
So writing the thing, or using Coffee's expression, creating the vision board. However you do it, birth it in this plane because you need to be crystal clear and focused about attracting what it is that you want. It was not, and I'm gonna be very, very transparent here. It was
Mm,
not until I got clear
mm,
and sold out to
Hmm.
what I wanted. Because I
mm.
mean, I can't tell you how many times I had friends of mine say, "Oh shoot, what you looking for don't exist."
Right.
No, seriously, she don't exist, bro. But
Yeah.
I'm here to tell you, I'm here to testify right now. Oh, amen. She exists. I got it, and I'm good. So,
Watch
Mm,
out
so,
now.
so,
Watch out.
mm,
Watch out.
Well,
mm.
I
but
need.
here's the thing. Here's the thing,
Oh,
ladies. It was not until I had my list crystal clear and I sold out to it and
Mm.
did not allow anybody or anything, whoever had to say anything about my list or what I was looking for, how crazy I was. I ain't give two good gosh doggones about them and their opinions. And I think when we sell out to that thing, we'll attract that thing all the better because the universe be like, oh yeah, oh, Coffee, she's serious about this thing. All right, come on, let's go
hey,
on and
hey,
get this down into her.
hey, AD,
There you go. Watch out now. Watch out. Watch out
AD,
there now.
let me play advocate
Go
for you
ahead,
for a
bruh.
second.
Yeah, Lord, here comes Satan, y'all. Here comes Satan.
No, I'm saying, no, for the fire. No, anyway, no, because here's the thing: success and the appearance of it can buy your list. So it ain't always who we are. It's sometimes you'll be surprised if you arrive at a certain level. Yeah, I mean, think about it. When you get to when we arrive financially, there are certain doors that open for us that we would have never seen
Absolutely.
beforehand. So what I'm saying
Yes,
that to say,
amen.
sometimes your list can come to you a whole lot easier the more visible means you seem to appear to have by way of success. You know what I'm saying?
And guess what?
Yeah,
Guess what? I'm with you. You right,
yeah,
and ain't
that's it.
nothing wrong with that.
Right.
You know why it ain't nothing wrong with that? Because look at nature. When when when
True.
when when them birds build that nest, see the male builds the nest.
Yes,
The male builds the nest, not the female.
absolutely.
Come
So
on
when
now.
the
Say
male
it.
You,
builds
Say
you,
it.
you
the
would
nest,
hope so anyway. Go ahead, go ahead.
no, I'm
You know
telling
what?
you,
I
the
can't
male, the
stand
Right,
male builds
it.
the
I can't
nest,
stand
and so
right.
that female bird, she come around and she come and look, and she say,
Yes.
and
You done
she
did a
sit
good
down
job.
in the nest and she
Yeah.
see how comfortable that thing is,
Right.
and when it's right, she say, you know what, I'm gonna stay right here. I'm gonna pick this one. I picked him. It wasn't his spirit and personality
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It
It's the
was
comfort.
attracting.
It's
So
the
so
comfort he
so yeah,
provided. Yeah. Yeah.
it. It was a
so
trap.
so
It
you
wasn't nothing
so
but a
you
I
are
trap.
need to.
absolutely right.
I need to interject because you
Uh
know
oh.
what?
Uh oh.
Because
Go ahead on
I'm gonna play
tonight, Kanisha.
advocate.
Go
Like I'm
ahead
gonna
now.
be talk. Because you know what? I know that we're on the women about the father figures and all that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
let me tell you something. There are plenty of men that
Yeah.
have built their list on not
Right.
having a father figure. And a
Mm.
Right.
lot of them are looking for validation from broken women
Wow.
to make
Mm.
them feel
Feel strong.
a certain
Wow.
way. So it's
Wow.
it's not always The fatherless,
Wow.
woe is me
Come on
Yeah.
women,
now.
they do
Come on
exist.
now.
They do
Yeah.
exist. But
Yeah.
what I will tell you is this: there are several broken men that
Mm.
need to have their manhood validated with other broken women because they're still
Uh-uh.
trying to get validated from their childhood.
Mm.
Girl,
So
you done gave
it
me
it
chill
it
bumps.
it,
Stop
Wow.
that, to
it,
me.
it
Oh,
goes
That's
it,
real.
Lord, I'm
it
telling
That's
goes
real
it
That's
goes
talk.
enough.
both
That's real
ways.
talk.
It
That's
goes
real
Oh,
both
my
talk.
ways,
Lord,
and
on
I
this
think
Yeah.
one.
that I'm just saying it goes both ways because I do agree with you. But on the other hand, we harp on these women and their lists and all this kind of stuff. And while
Yeah.
these men may not have a list, they do
Yeah.
have a subconscious validation that they're looking for to feel like the man.
Correct.
And so
Absolutely.
that
Yeah.
is what
Absolutely
we're
right.
kind of dealing with. We're dealing with
Absolutely.
two
Right.
deficits trying to get together.
Right.
So I just
Right.
had to
And
say that. I agree with
That was
everything
Come
good.
on
else.
now, girl.
That's good.
What's
And they
your
was
cash?
preaching.
What's
Going
your
to
what's your
preach.
cash
Going to
app to
preach to
mention? What's your
another.
cash
It's
app
P
to
plus
people? People,
81 if you need
what's
to do a
what's your
donation.
cash
Amen.
app? What's your
Amen.
cash
Shabba
app?
laba daba.
I need
Wow.
a hundred.
Oh
I need
my
a
God,
hundred.
I love it. Oh my God. Hey, you
Wow.
guys, listen, Mr. Dixon. It is
Uh-huh.
9 o'clock. Can you believe that, Mr. Dixon?
Yeah. Let's bring the ship on in. All right. Let's
Okay.
do this.
Lord,
Let's
Mr.
do
Dixon,
this.
do we
Let's
do we
start with.
have to bring the ship in? Do we have to bring the ship
We
in
got
now?
to give the people something to come back for. We can't feed them all tonight. Let's
Can't
give
give
them
them
a little.
Right.
everything.
Give them an
Oh
appetite
goodness.
and come back to next week. It's all right.
My
We're gonna start.
goodness.
Yeah, we're gonna drive the ship. We're gonna drive the ship in, starting with Carl, and then we're gonna go to Miss B, and then we're gonna circle around, let everybody. So basically, Carl, just kind of give the people your outro of advice on this topic, if you had to do so.
Just truly on the list, just um, know your value system.
Mm.
Know your value,
Good word.
and have your list that works with your values, and what your worth is. Because if you know your self worth, you'll never be with someone who does not think that you're worthy enough.
Mm.
That's
Say
the
that.
biggest thing there. You got to know your self worth and stay in that lane.
Good stuff.
Don't. I agree. Somebody brought up the reality TV,
Yeah.
which we know is not reality, but there are people that just don't do it, and then they look at everybody on social media. That's not going to find you what you're looking for.
right.
We always talk about the IG models and all this other stuff. How many of them
Yeah.
wouldn't be a model if it wasn't for IG?
You're
You
right.
My
know,
Lord.
Right.
My Lord.
Right.
so
My Lord.
it's just real. When you're looking out there, but you've got to look at yourself, know your worth, know your
Mm.
value system, your core values, and stick to that. And then be flexible.
Yeah.
Don't be so rigid. That's just my
Right.
biggest take on that. If you're going to do a
Good stuff.
list.
Good stuff. Miss D.
I would say the list, be flexible also. I don't know that a written list for everyone works. Written list really isn't for me. My internal list is on back on what you said, Charles.
Mm-hmm.
The things that I am are the things that I feel like I'm looking for. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
great friend. I'm loyal. I'm trustworthy. I'm honest. Those kind of things. Those are the things, I'm not a cheater. Those are the things that I look for in a person. That's my internal list. I'm a good communicator. And so I look for that. But also on my list is maybe if I'm a good communicator and that person is not, maybe I can help them become a better communicator. And maybe they can help me in some way. So my list kind of goes both ways.
Okay.
And also, lastly, for me, I think that there's a great author that has made a list for us, the 5 love languages. I'm big on
Mm-hmm.
the 5 love languages.
That's
I'm
good
really
one.
big on that, and I think most of us have read or know what they are.
Right.
So those are important for me. That's a list that I kind of go by
Okay.
that I didn't invent per
Okay.
se.
All right. Okay. AD.
Oh man, love yourself. Love yourself.
All right.
Um, work on yourself. Be as whole as you can. Be the best you that you can, and be honest with yourself. Be honest with who you are. Be honest where you are, and create your list. Be
That's
crystal
it.
clear about what it is that you need and what you want. And throw a little bit extra on there, a little something fun for yourself, just in case.
Little fun facts.
You're
Little
stuff.
lucky
fun
enough
facts.
to
Stuff.
attract. Yeah, put some good
Good
stuff
enough.
on there. Sprinkle a little
Little
Yeah.
seasoning on there.
juices and berries. Juices and berries.
Yeah.
So Mitchell,
But I,
I'm sorry,
and then
I cut
and
you. I'm
then
sorry. Go
and then and the last part, your list is going to be dynamic. It is going
ahead.
to shift and change as you grow and mature. But if you
Awesome.
hold on to it and you visualize it, use your vision boards and all that stuff, you will, I promise you, you will attract that person into your space. They may not come in the exact package, but
Exactly.
the
Mm.
the
Exactly. The
core
core.
values, the core
Right.
things that you
Yeah.
need,
You'll
that
be
Right.
your
there.
heart
Right.
screams to the universe, I promise you, you'll have it.
Right.
Well, I hope
Absolutely.
he don't come as
Absolutely.
5'2" though, AD.
See, there
He
you go.
might.
There you go. We tried to help you, and you riding this still
Yeah.
dog my type.
But
Come
hey,
on.
hey,
Throw the
AD,
whole show away.
AD, he may need to be 5'2" to still deal with the woman in the character. But anyway, Toe Mitchell.
Right.
You know
All
what?
right. So,
I can't.
so Mitchell, you.
I would say, make sure that your list either it's going to align with a contract or a covenant.
Mm.
You
That's
need
good.
to ensure that whatever your heart's desire, make sure that those desires line up and ask God to help you with that.
Mm.
To help them line up with what he desires for your life.
Mm.
And, make sure that you are not basing everything on these contractual, conditional things because in marriage, things change. Jobs change, kids change, health changes. There are a lot of things. So you need to make sure that you're basing that list off of a
Mhm.
covenant instead of a contract. And that would be
Amen.
my last words with
Good
that.
stuff.
Preach.
Wow. All right.
Y'all put them cash apps in the chat. Okay, y'all
King
got it.
Crash 81.
Tea coffee.
Oh man. Somebody sent something in my inbox and said, I hear what you guys are saying, but what about the people who want a companion but do not want marriage? That's a great question. And my response to that as we shut down is companionship. I think every person has a right to make their decision as far as how they deem companionship to be a part of their equation. So
Right.
this is a non-judgment zone. We're not judging anybody's decisions, and it still works the same way. Write your information, write what you want in a mate because you're still saying that you want a mate. You just don't want to be married, but you're still saying that you want a companion. So
Right.
therefore, if you want a companion, you want a partner, you want somebody to roll with you, and you don't want to be by yourself, then the rule still applies because everybody does not want to be married. I'm glad that person inboxed that. That's a very true thing. Everybody does not have the same end game in mind. That was
Right.
something that we didn't even talk about during the discussion, but I thought that was really good to mention now. But be committed to you. When I was listening to Charles talk about, if y'all didn't notice tonight, Charles was trying to go all against what everybody else was saying. Did y'all notice that too?
That's my job. It's my job. Go ahead. All right.
Oh my goodness. But and he got on the right colors to be the devil, don't he? But no, seriously, be committed to you. And when you write the information that you write down, be certain that you match what it is that you expect to experience. That's very important. Stay out of the far-fetched, the fantasy lane, and that taboo and wishing stuff, like what Charles said earlier and what AD was sharing with us, and be real about who you actually are. And look forward to somebody coming into your space that complements your natural being, who you are naturally, with the raw and nude. Who you are
Mm.
naked is who you really need to be with. Who you are naked is who you really need to be with.
All right.
It's a good one.
Now, really quick, just by way of clarity, I think one of the most important things we need to do if the list concept is what you aspire to, is to get full understanding of who you are first.
Right.
Full understanding, because actually, if you don't, you're just like it's clearly going to be a wish list if you don't know who you are
Right.
first.
Right.
The other part is, again, another part of clarity is sometimes we quote scriptures, one of them being write the list, make it plain. Guess what? write the list, make it plain, is for you and your development. It's not to say that scripture was meant for you to fulfill God's will.
That's
Not
a
for
Right.
good
you
one.
to go
Right.
find the
That's
mate,
true.
go find the
Right.
mate. It's not for that. It's for you. And
Absolutely.
and so the other side of it is the last part is when you become the fullest extent of your greater self, you warrant all that God has for you. That means the list, the person, whoever. But that's what I'm trying to say. It's almost like reaching that pinnacle to get closer to where you need to be by way of becoming your greater self. You are becoming a magnet to everything tied to you. And it'll all drag to you when you get to where you need to be. So everybody needs to get to their point, and then and the rest of it will fall into place. But right now we are wishing from somewhere afar off. So we need to get to our point, become our greater selves, and we'll be better.
It's about time you said something that jived with what everybody else was saying.
Whatever.
About time.
That's it. All right.
You guys, this has been an amazing episode. My inbox is blowing up. Y'all not gonna do it next week. Y'all ain't gonna tell us more next week. Calm down, people. We got to go to the bat cave and talk about things. Watch out now. But no, seriously, this has been an incredible show. D, AD, Carl, to Mitchell, Charles, and I greatly appreciate you guys taking time out of your schedule and showing up on the
Absolutely.
platform with us just to help people to realize what it is they really desire and want to see happen. That's what this is all about, continuing to help people to get to where they want to be relational wise. So we greatly appreciate you guys. We salute you. We have the utmost respect for you guys, and we thank you so much. And we appreciate you guys for coming on with us. We love to have you guys in the future. To Mitchell, you've been baptized, so look for the baptismal
Thank you.
robe in the mail. Look for your baptism. And Mr.
Thank you
Dixon,
so much.
it's our pleasure. Mr. Dixon, again, happy 75th birthday. If you can share with everybody in the chat how to keep the Fountain of Youth going so they can look like you at 75.
Oh, Lord. All right.
It's been an incredible episode this evening, you guys. Thank you again. We will see you guys same bad time, same bad channel on next week, and we just thank y'all so much. So have a
Thank
fantastic
you.
enjoy the balance of your evening and have a super fantastic week, and we'll see you guys again next week on another episode.
All right. See everybody later. Take care, everybody. Thank you.
Happy 4th of July.
Have a good night.
Great holiday as well.
Bye.
You too.
All right, you guys. Good night.
Okay.
Night. Thank you.